Hello VOD people, today is an exciting day. I have been streaming for 4 years now, which, that's crazy, that I've been doing this that long. That's insane to me. It's not all but the past year or so. Over the past year, I've been way more consistent about it, and I'm continuing to try and stay with that consistency, despite the burnout that hit me at the end of last year. And a lot of my content, I've gotten better about actually saving and sharing my content, because early on, I didn't save a single thing. So there's only clips here and there that still exist, which I still need to edit and post. The Baby Mew clips video, which is a bunch of my older TikTok clips, and a video that Filmora Cloud apparently still had, my editing software. So scraps of Mew content that just haven't seen the light of day in years. So we're going to be going through quite a lot of it. I have a little stream schedule planned out. Do I have, what image is this behind? Oh, that's my background image. I do not want to fix that or change that. We're going to add a new image so I could show off our little schedule. This one, there you go. Oh, there we go. Nope, apparently not. There we go. Lovely. We're going to start off with Minecraft Bedrock. We got 3 things we're going to do on there. After that, we're going to move over to Java. We have 2 little things we're going to do. That's a much quicker one. And then we're going to wrap up with some more modded Java content. That will probably be the longest bit of this stream, I'm going to be honest with you. I want to play my mod pack, the Amalgamation, on hardcore, and then revisit the Passion SMP world, the first season world, which I have thankfully already set up. But first, we're starting off with my first world. It was the first thing I ever streamed, and it's also the first world I ever played on PC, on Minecraft. The first Minecraft world I played on PC. I played on console before that. It is on Bedrock, because I think I just used the same Microsoft account. I'm not sure. Then we're going to play Scariest Map Ever. I got a lot of clips from that one, and a lot of my funniest favorite moments are from that world. It is a free world I got at some point. Bedrock for a little while there. I don't know if they still do this. Every now and again, they'd have like a calendar event where if you logged in every day, you would get this free map or that free map. So I have a lot of free things from that. Including, oh no, I think I bought the Scariest Map Ever. I can't remember who recommended it to me. But it's a map. It's more of a like spoopy horror. It probably helps that I've played it so many times and I know it by heart, so it's not scary to me anymore. And then I just want to play through Terra Swoop Force. I don't think I really ever made any content on it. I just really like Terra Swoop Force, so I want to play that a little bit. Minecraft Java has a few old worlds. I didn't play vanilla Java for very long. When I was usually playing on servers that are long since dead. So we're gonna visit. Hello, Belly Bob. On Minecraft Java, we're gonna visit. I have a recording world that has some of my favorite. So that has like builds here and there for me trying to do building tips and content and failing at it. I also had one named Survival Build that I intended to like. Oh, this is just mine by myself. I'm never gonna stream this. I proceeded to stream it. And then get bored of it and completely forgot it existed. So that exists somewhere. And then we'll visit Homeos SMP. This was around when I started really picking up on streaming again for a little bit. We had Homeos SMP Season 1 and 2. I was a horrible server owner. And it died the first time, and the second time it died to a lot of drama and issues that I was absolutely a part of, and it was not good. And I'm working to be better. Homeos SMP Season 1 hardly exists in it. I don't have any YouTube videos of it. I think there's a clip here or there that exists on TikTok. I kind of feel at fault for my brother's stupidity. No worries, man. Mistakes happen. Yeah. But Season 2 does still exist. That one I did start doing YouTube videos for and recording. And the server still technically exists. You can't really delete Minehut servers. and that was hosted on Mine's Hut, so we should be able to go back in and look around it. And then, of course, we're going to do Amalgamation. I already mentioned this. I want to play hardcore on it for a little bit, which probably won't last long. I'll cap that at probably half hour, 45 minutes, depending on what time that is. If time allows, we might do that for an hour. And we'll wrap up with visiting the Passion SMP Season 1 world, which I have on my computer, and I should probably make that available to the SMP members. I kept it on my computer, and I don't think I forgot to mention, oh, hey, I have the world download. Here it is. So we're going to get into all of that. Let me pull up Minecraft Bedrock, or Minecraft for Windows. Because it's its own application. You don't have to open Minecraft Launcher for it. Gameplay? What is... Oh, this is that random one. Okay. Get rid of that. What is this image? That is fished. Do I need all these sources? Mostly yes. Game capture. It needs to be you. And you guys can hear the game, so that works. Perfect. And we're going to be visiting... I usually don't really visit the actual world itself. I want to keep it as intact as possible. So we're going to visit the recording copy, which I was just on in order to take a screenshot of for this video, this VOD, which will be the stream that will go up on the VOD channel. I currently do not know if I want to post a video out of this. I may, depending on what happens, what we enjoy, what we like to do. This is I forgot how Bedrock works. This world has gone through a serious amount of changes, and I'm going to see what all I can remember. I can tell you for a fact this entire area basically was terraformed, and it didn't originally look like this. I added the water in, and there's a little river over there underneath the sewer. How long will you be streaming? I plan to stream about 4 hours. I do plan for this to be much longer, because we're going to be going through the scariest map ever. I do want to go through the entirety of that, and then just play a little bit of Terra Swoop Force on a pre-existing map I already have. And then the other worlds, revisiting all the stuff, should only take about an hour, but I do want to spend time on Amalgamation and really going through and visiting Passion SMP. And my VTuber's lagging, we're going to ignore it. I will say... heavy on the terraforming. I did a lot of terraforming for this one, because this entire thing, if it's... yes, it's right here. I built over top. This mountain doesn't exist. The entire mountain is a fake. And so are the caves next to it. Let me get out of here, because I can't do this well. And I believe in this world. There's not a lot to this world. This was early into me doing survival. There's no heavy farms. It's very heavy builds and a little bit of, like, transport. That's the most I ever did. Over here was supposed to be a museum of, like, different artifacts and things I've collected over time. And in the center here should have... yes. The first followers I ever got on Twitch. And I think most of these people are still following. And then we stopped kind of falling off on the server about this point. And I'm tempted to go back to doing something like that, but that is yet to be seen. I would do something like that for subscribers, definitely. I think that is in large part, everything you see here is basically what I did on this world. There is a little area over there where I think I made an automatic tree farm. I never really explored out too much. I did go out in that direction quite a bit because I had several odds and ends saved. Yeah, I think this was just a basic tree farm. And then I had copper aging over here. And then this was a house I made, and it doesn't super have any interiors. I have a mob farm over there. I know somewhere out here I had like a tiny... oh, something I can find? Perhaps, if it is possible for us to find it. It should be out in this direction somewhere. I have since changed it, but for a really long time, my follower alert would show a picture of what looked like a Minecraft heart, but was surrounded by like a mountain. That was a cave I saw inside a mountain on this world that just so happened to look like a heart. But because of the game updating a bunch throughout me playing this, the mountain might not exist anymore. We're gonna hope that it does. I should be able to go out this way to find it. As long as we're in desert, we should be able to be good. The first villager I ever got, Max, my mending villager, I had to run all the way out here to this guy, this one. I had to run all the way out here to get him. And then I don't remember how I got the rest of them. I think I just slowly dragged them back. I'm not sure if it was this one or that one. I know he's a desert villager, so I hesitate to say that's not the correct spot. I just remember slowly dragging back the boat very, very carefully. But I might not be able to find it anymore. That's an acacia one, so it's not right. Maybe it's that village. That seems like it'd be right. But I'm not seeing the mountain anyway, so I guess not. It's hard to tell. Especially because I don't have any, like, maps or anything. Oh, yeah, you can tell where things haven't been loading correctly. That's different. So, the mountain might not be there anymore. I don't even know if I have the screenshot on my computer anymore. I doubt I do. I know I can't TP /TP at self 0, 0 should do. There we go, yes. I'm pretty... Where's my nearest portal is the question. I think I had one over here. No? Where would my nearest portal be? Probably my storage. I didn't keep... Portals were just like a rare thing for me. They weren't heavy, easy access. I had a semi-secret basement where all my storage went. Of course, awfully organized. Okay, yeah, in here. And about this time, I learned mobs can't, like, struggle to get around azalea bushes, so I used the azalea bushes to keep things in. Of course, using slabs to keep everything organized. Wait, I don't have a minecart down here. Minecart? It's going to be weird not having Lilac playing. Yeah. Hopefully she'll come back for, Season 3. And I am working towards ideas for Season 3 right now, too. I'm thinking Season 2 is gonna last till... Oh, there I go. Season 2 is gonna last till about... June, July, maybe even close it off sooner than that. There's still some projects here and there I want to get done, but as I'm getting close to finishing those up, I'll check in with the server, see what people still want to work on, or if they're okay with leaving it early, or if they're ready for the next season. Another fortress, new lands, jungle, ocean, iceberg is where I want to head. I'm gonna check the other ones. Factory Island. Okay, Guardian Farm and Factory Island is where I want to go. These are the ones I want to go to. Temple and Mushroom Island. These are the ones I care about. And oh, how I've upgraded my nether hub since, because this is horrible. I don't know why I needed specific lines for each and everything. But that's what I did. I forgot how far out this goes. There we go. And I didn't know about moving portals around, so I just have these barely functional networks. There we go. Minecraft, please. There we go. Factory Island was gutted of almost all factories. It exists out here, I guess. And we're gonna ignore... maybe I shouldn't have ignored the boat. I did make a Guardian farm at some point. I don't know why I felt the need to. I did make one at some point. I don't think I even needed prismarine for anything. I honestly don't know why I made one. I have no clue. It just exists out here. And it's probably heavily out of date. Because this is the kind of farm where you, if it's still here, there's a trident there. And the trident goes around. No, it still works. That's a surprise. It's probably not as efficient as it could be, but it still works. And hopefully, if I literally just continue roughly this direction, hopefully I don't immediately lose where I am. If I continue this direction, I'll either hit the ocean temple that I was slowly draining and never finished, or the giant mushroom island I had. Hi, Nofley. We can talk about this another day. I am streaming right now. Yeah, I only got through so much of this place. I know I, like, stole everything I could from the interior of that. I think the idea was at some point, I had, like, 0 tools for this either. And I think I did make an entire circle around this place, but I never quite finished it. And I didn't make a good circle either. I just made it up as I went, so it's just this horrible mishmash. Not talking to you? Then why are you in the stream? That's not good streaming etiquette. The VTuber's lagging. Yeah, it's the Bedrock. It's probably going to happen fairly often. I'm not going to worry too much about it right now. Bedrock is very silly. I remember taking ages for this thing, though. The eventual idea I was having is I was going to completely envelop this thing in a dome of ice and glass. But I did not have... Oh, there's a Nautilus. I saw it spawn. It's gone. Okay. And I'm pretty sure if we continue this way, there's a giant mushroom island that has one of my most popular TikTok clips. Because in order for the island portal to work, I had to bring the portal way far out because it kept wanting to connect to the temple for some reason, despite being like 100,000, well, not 100,000, hundreds or even 1,000 blocks away. So it's all the way out here. Yeah, there's the mushroom. It's all the way out here, but it wanted to connect to the temple because Bedrock's broken and it's horrible. Except for a few good things here or there. So my portal for this giant mushroom island is all the way out there. Along this giant... I never did anything out here. I was thinking of stuff to do out here. I never really got anything done. But while I was here, at some point I had my... I had my chunks turned up. And I look over, and I see a tiny piece of a Badlands biome. Which, for context, at this point I was swearing a lot too. I swore so much. I see a little piece of this Badlands biome, and I'm pissed off as all hell. I am swearing. There are so many F-bombs that'd make my Navy uncle blush. Because I had once in this world, I have since completely destroyed it. No existence of it is left on the world, I think. I had an island in the sky that was going to be completely made out of terracotta. But because I couldn't find a good source of terracotta, I completely scrapped the project in its entirety. And then months later, I find this place just at a render distance, and it pissed me off so much. Ridiculous. I don't think I really had anything else of note here, though. I spent quite a while on it, but I wasn't good at survival at all during this point of me playing. So I'm gonna do a /TP back again. Because there's not really much else. I had like a few clips here or there. I found a really cool like giant cave underground. But that's about it. I don't think there's really anything else on this world, so we're gonna skip past the rest of this and go into the scariest map ever. It is not scary, but that is literally what it's called. We don't care about Cave Dweller add-on. Are you not logged into the right thing? Profile, is this not the right thing? No, it's not. That's why. The computer likes to recognize, oh, these worlds exist on your computer, but they don't like to have me logged into the correct account. I have one account that has a ridiculous amount of like Bedrock maps, and then the current Minecraft account that I use, which doesn't have really anything. I think I bought like 1 or 2 things on it, or I have 1 or 2 things on it. But I don't have a lot. View account, switch account. Not that one. That one. Let's go. Yes. Minecraft, can you load? Bedrock, open. And I should still have this. I don't know why I wouldn't. It should still give me all the things I own. Gameplay. Play. Worlds. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Create new world. There we go. Yeah, I own a whole of these, so where is this? It should be down at the bottom, because S. Scariest map ever. I own so many of these. I want to sit down with Lilac. She's been doing some Bedrock content, so I need to really sit down with her and we can go through all of these. Some of these I've played through, some of these I haven't. I haven't played Spell Rune at all, but other ones are just like shorter, casual things. Although it'd be nice to get a bunch of people in for grid runners. It's alright with just 2 people, but I think it'd be really good chaos with a couple of us. Same thing for Glitch Runner is really good. Farm Life would be fun, and I think that's definitely something I have to find a bunch of people who would just cause some silly chaos with it. Crab Cove is fine for like 5 minutes. Bloom has a story to it. I think that'd be one for me and Lilac to do one-on-one. Grave Danger is just a quick solo RPG. You can do with multiple people. It's not as fun. There was also down here the Legendary Phoenix and Theme Park are fun to do with a couple people. And Terra Swoop Force we will do after the scariest map ever. With that guy. Which just looks like the Cave Dweller, so this might have been just early iterations of Cave Dweller. Because it literally just looks like it. I'd even pick that out. Oh, what have you done to my sensitivity? Where's my skin? Skin? Yes, I know how. Shut up. I know how to. Style to body. Give me the body. Style to what? Is it? Classic. Own skin. Choose skin. Give me my skin. Which one is this? This one. There you go. Open. Right? That should be right. I think it's alright. There we go. It's taking forever to load. There we go. Have my skin back. Your character has been saved. I know it has. A game, not game, controls. No. No. Okay. Oh, the view bobbing. View. Where's view? Where's view bobbing? Get out of my face. No. No. Video. Render distance down, please. Brightness up. Otherwise, this is going to be horrible if I edit it, and I'm going to regret it. Auto opacity, yes. Let me see. At least I'm not as bad as I used to be and just go, Pwah. Since, like, I think I started with Amalgamation, I lowered my render distance down a little bit just so I wouldn't see everything and I could actually get jump scared a little more. And I've slowly lowered it down, mainly for screenshots, and I think at this point I'm sitting at 80 instead of Quake Pro. Let me make sure sounds are adequate before we get into this, because there is voice acting first parts. So let's turn that up.
Are you sure you want to come down here?
Yes. You can die at this part, I learned, unfortunately. It's not expected that you do, but you can. So we are not gonna do all of this.
Who are you?
Shut up.
What?
Higher, shut up.
Well, I'm higher. I'm brother of Saf, cousin of Stu and Dios. How'd you get here?
I wish I could beat you with this.
And make my escape, but
just.
Yeah, you can go first if you want.
Just. Thank you.
When you're ready.
Shut up.
Apparently something happens after that. I'll try to help if I can.
Shut up.
Good luck.
Thank you. There are a bunch of different modes. You have to collect coins in order to do it. I will try and collect some coins throughout this, so maybe we could do nausea mode. Nausea mode's annoying. It's exactly what it sounds like. It is incredibly annoying. I believe that requires all the coins though, so I'm not gonna be focused on that. If I see a coin, I'll grab a coin. They're hidden across the map, and some of the map is open world pieces and bits, so I'm not gonna go for that. We're not gonna bother with it. Normal mode's fine. Hard mode, I think, just changes the difficulty. Nausea mode literally puts a nausea effect on your screen at all times, and it is horrible to do anything, but I have beat it in the past with it, after lots of trial and error. And this is why I have the brightness at 100. So we can actually see anything. So we have to run over here. Higher, shut up. Hi, buddy. How are you? It'd help if you actually put, like, you make me look at your pelvis. I'm trying to look at your face. Yeah. I don't know if this is based off Cave Dweller at all. This did come before Cave Dweller was popular. I don't know if it's associated with it at all. But it did come way before Cave Dweller. So maybe this is early iterations that were tested. Bro, you didn't follow your normal path. That's not nice. I was gonna loop you around like I always do, and you didn't let me. That's not kind. We don't do that. And we run on in. Oh, what do you mean? Yes, I lost him. Thank you. Shut up. I want to play the game. You're too busy doing story, you won't let me play the game. And of course it's that. And then there's tiny zombies, they'll come try and fight you, but they're just zombies. Yeah, shut up. Shut. You're just a baby. You're just a baby. And you have blindness whenever you're in the water, so that's fun. Where am I? That's the way we just were, so we need to come around this way. Yeah, I'm really not gonna bother with coins. I just wanna play the game. I just wanna get through everything. We gotta loop around here. Is that Jim but in Minecraft? Yeah, I was thinking that for a second. It's not quite Jim. Jim was more orange. This guy's more blue. The other guy was like dirty. This guy's just pale. Or it might have just been the lighting of the game. I'm not sure. But he was more like a beigey color. And then let's see how much I remember of this place. Hi. Goodbye. You silly. You silly frogman. And we're gonna come around here. This is not the correct way to go. However, it does give me an item we want. So way out here is a more useful bat. And then we can loop around this way. Can't. Oh wait, no, can. My depth perception and the lights in my face are ruining me. Nope, yep, there's Frogman. Oh, I do need to go that way. Poor frogman. No one will give him a hug. And where the stream music definitely don't go with this, I don't care. We're just vibing. Frogman! Have you come to greet me? Where's my greeting? Thank you. Goodbye. You gotta say hi to Frogman. We're gonna go say hi to him. He's just a little bit anxious. He might have the shakes. Yeah, you always got the shakes, don't you, Frogman? Yeah, you poor baby. I'm so used to the server having double doors. I forget Minecraft is annoying and doesn't let you open doors at the same time. Y'all ready to beat up some brats? Because that's this part of the game. You gotta pick up a toy. No, you're supposed to let me pick up a toy. You're supposed to let me pick up the toy. There we go. Yep. That's usually how it goes. But you do have to get down to trigger it. There is a way, once you die again, to just completely circumvent it. So we're gonna do that. You can just come up over here. Hi, buddies. Yeah, you all suck. You're probably retextured iron golems.
You can't leave. You just got here. You just got here.
I'm gonna stand right here, so hopefully that's... Yep. Oh, it's Bedrock! I can spam click! I completely forgot! You're no fun. Oh, wait. Come on.
You just got here.
No.
I'll play with my next friend.
I'll play with my next new friend. Yeah, shut up. Let me through. Thank you. And then we jump up here. And we grab yet another lever, because of course it is. It's not a horror mod pack. It's not a horror world without the lever and iron doors. It's a dark room! What will I do? So I gotta remember how one goes about this. I think it's this? Nope. There is... Why all the way back here? There's a hidden button and a hidden door in there that's annoying to get around. I don't remember exactly how you get to it. I think I just need to go straight forward then left. I was thinking for some reason it was immediate left. It should just be a straightforward though. The long trail back because it didn't set a respawn point for me. So it should just be over here. There should be... Yep. Button. Ding. Because of course you're supposed to know that one. Higher, don't you dare. Higher. Oh, good. Shut up, Higher. I don't care about you.
Oh no. Don't look back, he's here.
Oh no! He's 50 blocks behind me. Fun fact, if you die enough, he just stops chasing you. Don't ask how I know. I was not good at parkour. The only reason I am somewhat okay at parkour now is because of playing a bunch of Glitch Runner and getting really into it for a little while.
Oh no. Don't look back, he's here.
It's always when you're trying to say, oh, I'm good at something, that you immediately fail at it. I feel like it's just a necessary. It's a necessary cliche. It's just gotta happen. There you go. And this is the route... Oh, hello, frames. This is the route I always have taken, or I found to be the best for my own flow. There's probably a faster way to go through this. This is the one I take, though. But there could absolutely be better ways to do this. I hear the chat. I will see the chat in but a moment. Whoop, whoop. It whoop. It whoop. It bonk, bonk. I can barely see like half of this. Up, up, up. Yeah, da, 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 da. Let me get through this. We are like 2 seconds away from the end. Oh, at least it respawns you. I got jump scared by that once because I didn't know he was going to be there after I respawned because he just chases you. He's back there now, which gives us the chance to go over here. Yeah, you poor thing. You're gonna starve another day. You can't eat me. I am too fast. You run your little legs all the way over here, and I'll be long gone. There we go. Again, there could absolutely be a faster way to do this, but it's the one I've always done. I'd rather listen to muscle memory. And safety. Plus, if we smoosh around. Smoosh? There's a word I want there. And I'm not gonna find it. If we steal about, we should be able to find some decent stuff. Ooh, iron helmet. Chainmail, better than leather. And I think that's the best you can get. And to the end of the game, because it's already over. This is the last thing. Would I have to put in another application for Season 3? I probably will go about that. I might go around and check out who's active content creators. Because that is the plan for Season 3, to do people who are actively pursuing content creation and trying to make content specifically. It's behind you. Oh no! Oh, you didn't give me... Where did I miss getting the bow? Because it's supposed to give me... I usually have a bow by this point. Well, spam clicking instead, I guess? If you do die too many times, it just doesn't let you. I must have missed the bow then. Yes, I did. It was way earlier. Oh, no. It was way back in the open world, even before the maze. I missed that. I was supposed to grab that. That's a problem. I kind of need it. That is the only way I've ever done this fight. Oh, this is just me on you right now. How fast can I fight you with horrible bat and armor? Are you kidding me? It's not like you're giving me any other choice, bro. I found an old coin. I don't know if it'll let me go all the way back. Because that is a really far way back to go. And I know it doesn't give you another one. Need to find out what's wrong with my files. Oh no. I assume... No. I can do game rule or message, but it won't do a /give. I'm not too focused on trying to force myself to get this done, but I would much prefer if we did have the bow, because that would have just, we would have just speed ran this part then. There's no way to get up to the area back there. There's supposed to be a cutscene right there, but apparently it's not doing that. I don't know a better way to do this. I'm not obsessed with, like, actually getting this done, but I would prefer if we could. That would be nice to do. I'm not gonna be too attached to it. We'll just move on. My recording files just, like, disappear after I stop recording. I'm not sure why that would happen. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. But I can't think of why that would be. Where's the other one? Terra swoop force. Terra swoop force. There you are. Oh, it's the other account I need in order for us to play on that. Because I have an account where I've done a bunch of stuff on it already, so we could just breeze through it. And I don't have to listen to a bunch of exposition. Manage account. Can I just switch from here and I don't have to reopen everything? Nope. Nope. Get rid of all those. There we go. Done. I want to... No, you're not going to let me just switch from here. Nope. Okay. We relaunch. Exit. We relaunch. Because I do want to do at least a little bit of Terra Swoop Force. Whoa. VTuber did not like that one. I spent the past couple days... I have horrible hips. From sitting cross-legged for years and years, plus bad posture. So... for the past several days, I've been trying to fix that and forcing myself to not sit cross-legged. And my muscles are not happy with me. Thankfully, I'm on, like, day 4 now. So, it's getting easier. But it does still incur some muscle pain, or muscle fatigue and soreness. But slowly getting better. And hopefully, maybe, I can actually sit normally and stand normally for long periods of time. I would like to be able to do that. That's kind of important to my health, I would think. Yeah, load anyway. I don't care. It is but a necessary evil. So far, every now and again, I've allowed myself, like, I'll have one leg sit up on the chair, but I will not go full cross-legged right now unless I'm, like, sitting on the floor. Oh, good, I do have the music going. Yeah, this does lag out, VTuber. Okay, whatever. We're at the old place, so let's go to the new one. And we're gonna run through all of these real quick. Whoop. Because I love Terra Swoop Force too much. I am not gonna leave Bedrock without at least playing this once. I don't even care. I don't care that it's not related to my old content. I love Terra Swoop Force too much. I don't care that stream's probably lagging this and gonna make me fail. I love Terra Swoop Force too much. It is forever one of my favorite Minecraft maps ever. And it will forever be frickin' amazing. I will see that in but a moment. Oh. I don't know if I would stream it. For a little while there, I was trying to get one of the last achievements, which is speedrunning all the tunnels in a row, under par, which is like barely... It's around 3 minutes, and I still have like a minute to cut off of that time. So that's a heavy ask. I can speedrun all of these in about 3 or 4 minutes. But oh boy, getting that last bit down is bad. It would help if I played the game correctly and actually made it through, you know, the first level to prove what anything I'm saying is true. That would be great. I would like to actually be good at games. That's usually a plus. That's usually nice. I'm usually quite a fan of that. I simply wish... to be good at games. I hit that wall and that might ruin me. But I should be able to still make it to the end regardless. I love all of this too. This looks so cool. Brilliantly built. Pop. Why is that blurred, huh? I don't know why it's blurred, and I'm not sure what word you're referring to. Hey, whoop. Hey, dinosaurs! Let's go right here, and hopefully I can avoid all the glass. Nope. Nope. Immediately not. I exceeded the speed limit according to my death message. This is not the game to play while streaming. The thought has occurred to me. This is not the game to play while streaming. But I don't care. Oh my goodness. Is there anything I could turn down? Please. Control video. 16 chunks? No! You do not need that many! No, oh my god, that runs way better. But I also can't see where I'm going now. Okay, we need a middle ground. Let's go with 8 or 10. 10 would probably be best. 10 chunks. Do I get my peanuts? Sure, you can get your peanuts. This flight's long enough. Boop. There we go. Yeah, this is bearable. 10 chunks we can do. 16 chunks is unnecessary. 10 chunks while streaming is just fine. I know where I'm going. I can see where I'm going. I can plan accordingly. Apparently, I just had to change my frickin' eyeballs and my render distance. That'd be such a funny, like, I can't remember what the correct word is, but such a funny thing to do in my VTuber. I press a button and the eyeballs just pop out. They just go, oh, and then fall to the ground. And if I shake my head, they come back. I wouldn't know how I would implement the shake head part, but if I do a thing, then they come back. Well. I just want to play through your maps. It is really cool. I love them a lot. Oh, this is gonna be horrible on the third map. This is not gonna be good. Please. I just want to move my butt along. Of course. Now knows what a fly against a windscreen feels like. Pipe. Metal pipe. Please get around that. Thank you. Okay. Initial lag. Mostly done with, knock on wood. Can we get through the rest? Hopefully, seemingly so. I'm just gonna go over it. Okay. Number 2 done. Bonk. Recycle. Of course, Plinko has decided. 11. Oh no. This is gonna be a fun one. This is gonna be so fun. Because I'm immediately gonna bonk into something I don't need to be. Well, I bonked into that, but it didn't kill me, so we're fine for now. Knock on wood. Unless Bedrock has decided to take a million years to tell me I had fall damage. 83? I think that's 80. 93. That's what happens when you look at chat. Is thinking about rage quitting. Not yet. Bloop. This way. And hopefully keep most of our momentum for the rest of this. Try and stay up high and glide it out. This is not a speed run, this is a make it to the end. And deal with the lag along the way. Nope. Underneath, round, down, left, right. I'm surprised I made it through that. I fully thought I was gonna die for that. I died for that one instead, though. Well, 75. Knee bump. I still need to go up and fix Horse Plinko, though. Need to get that done. Yep. Loop. Wait, please. Okay. That should give us... death is what it should give us. Thank you. Didn't correctly recite their favorite color. And slate gray. It's a beautifully, it has been leaning towards green, though. A nice, like, lovely, like, autumn green I've been a fan of lately. Well. Can I make this last? No, that is not gonna happen. I can spot that from a mile away. Wanted a banger funeral. As long as somebody jump scares the rest of the funeral attendants with Megalovania, we'll be good. And perhaps, just for the laughs, just for the giggles, and perhaps the embarrassment of some family members, I need somebody to play Johnny McGovern's, one of Johnny McGovern's songs. That will be good. If you know, you know. I need to add that to my Flow playlist. I don't think I have it on there yet. I have a playlist I nicknamed for myself called Flow, and it's just songs I play on repeat when I need to get shit done. I don't know why it's these songs specifically, because none of them would be like, oh yeah, I get why you'd have that on there. All of them are very specific to me. I think it's just like memories associated with them. I found such and such song and it inspired me to do this thing. Yeah, no, I keep hitting the glass. There's a reason my persona is a bat. It's because I can't fucking see. These eyes don't work. But I will find a way to make them work. I shall see all one day and fix my -5 eyesight, which is not good, by the way. The increments are in 0.25, and I'm at -5. Or like -5 and -4.75, I think, is what I'm on right now. But I need to get another prescription. It's probably gonna be worse than that. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna see. I wonder if there's like a video or like course you can do, a game that could help you improve your depth perception, because I would love that. I desperately would love to improve my depth perception. That is the goal. And can I make it to the actual goal right now, which is the end of the level? It seems so. I really should have died for that, but it didn't, so I'll take it. Misty being mod is a great decision, yeah. She has volunteered to be the bad guy and tell me when I am letting people walk over me. Boop. Oh, there we go. This one is the one I've done the most, because for a while I was seriously struggling with getting this one on par, because there's a secret path I like taking. Well, secret. There's a tunnel here I like taking, but it's a 2x2 in a very close off area. Same thing right here. And then you have to pull up again, and then weave through everything that's going on out here. But not bad timing. We've done the entire thing in about 10 minutes, which isn't bad for me not doing it for a while, and streaming and running a VTuber at the same time. And also dealing with, apparently, a very high render distance. Up. And there we go. all tunnels. So in an hour, we got through all the Bedrock stuff. I think I only did one prank, but I don't know. That's fair. I feel like there are two sets of pranks that people think of. When I think of prank, I think of little goofs and gaffs of like leaving a couple signs in somebody's base. I feel like a lot of people, when they think of prank, they think of moving somebody out of their house while they're asleep or such like that. And I never really liked those kinds of quote-unquote pranks. It just feels more like bullying with some flashy premise. And a veil of it's just a joke when it's nobody's laughing. If the pranky can't enjoy the prank, I don't think it's a good prank. I feel like there are 3 general guidelines that everybody can agree on for a good prank. 1, all participants must find it funny. And it is, like, you can look back on it and laugh. You could tell your socially inept uncle about the joke and he would laugh at it. It must be monitored or designed in such a way that you know when it goes off. Or you make the pranky aware of it, like, oh, I found this random thing in your base, you might want to check it out. Or go check out this thing I did. And 3, it must be cleaned up afterward. So my example for this as a really good joke, you leave a present outside of somebody's base. It very clearly looks like a trap, but of course they're going to press the lever anyway. When they press the lever, the present falls down, revealing a giant chicken bomb. All the chickens are named Dinner Bone, so all of them are upside down, and Lava Chicken starts playing. I think that's a good prank. It's not too much cleanup, and there is the bonus, if they so wish, they could keep the chickens, because Dinner Bone chickens are funny to keep around. Or everybody gets a bunch of chicken and feathers, which are pretty useful items. I immediately opened Minecraft Bedrock again. That's not what I need to open. I need to open Java. Java Edition play. If I did more, it was just some lighthearted ones. Yeah. Lighthearted ones are the kind of pranks I like. Like, I seriously love the moment you just came in and left a sea turtle on my bed. That one was funny. I really liked that. I like small pranks like that. Or, last season we did have a prank-themed event. Where I would go around and prank people on the server, and they had to find pillager heads in order to stop being pranked. And once they found the pillager heads, they joined the pranking team. It didn't end up going that far. It kind of fell apart, which is fine. But I did have fun pranking people, and I had a list of pranks that were pre-decided. Everybody agreed to them before we did it. I'm also going to add a role to the server so people can say, hey, I'm okay with being pranked, or if they don't want to be pranked. I think I have to do this because it's not letting me try and add Minecraft as a source. There we go. And, okay, yes, you guys can hear that. I would do things like cover a person's base in flowers, or in boats and signs. And once I knew they had seen it, I would go around and clean it up. I did think Lilac actually kept all the flowers I left. I'm pretty sure she did. And I think she even kept one of the ones I had was leave 3 hoglins in a base, which was one of the more dangerous ones, but it was very rare that it would happen. And I'm pretty sure she kept them and named them, because I think I named them... What did I name them? It was something silly. And I don't remember what it was. We'll see them later, so we'll find out later. I don't have a lot of worlds on this, so we're just visiting. I do want to see free build. I don't know what free build is. Where am I? This is what free build is, apparently. That's a spawner farm. That's color palettes. That's all the blocks for the game that got destroyed at some point because I didn't need it anymore. Floor patterns. That's from Homeo's SMP. I don't remember what you were for. I think that's for Homeos SMP Season 1. I'm pretty sure. That is a copy of the first house I've ever made, because I reference it often, and every time I bring it up, I go and make it real quick. I do at some point want to sit down and do, this is the Pillager Ploy, yes. At some point, I do want to sit down and do a video of, like, upgrading the first house I ever built, and taking what I have there and making it into a genuine thing. And then this wheel, I think this was also Homeos SMP Season 1. I think all of this is. Jeez, that's a while ago. Yeah, that is definitely Season 1. I do not have that world, so that kind of sucks, but... So we cannot access that at all. This... I don't know if I'll ever use this. I just built this floor plan randomly one day. There's no science to it. There's no ideas. I just put down a bunch of shapes. And all the wood patterning is just to make sure I, like, kept the same size of hallways all the way through. And then for some reason, I kept it up with all the rooms. For some reason, there's an end portal over there. I think I needed the Ender Dragon or something for a screenshot. Over there are a couple build tutorials I did, I think, of, like, different rules and patterns you can do. I remember going back and watching all of Passion in Season 1. Oh, hell yeah! Yeah, that was Pillager Ploy. I think somewhere I still have the original list of pranks. It might be in meetings, even, or our Discord channel meetings, or I definitely for sure have it. I keep my own personal Discord that has both my Discord accounts, so I can send things back and forth to myself, or draft up Discord messages. And that was another one. I don't like this one, but that's there. And I also want to visit this a second time. I have copied this world into the mod pack I have for Passion SMP Season 1, and actually copy-pasted one of my favorite builds ever into it, in order to keep it alive. And the last one we have is Survival Build. Which... What toys? Okay. Control-C. Hacks, Flint, Woothrod, Horror, Blue Killer, Eddie for some reason, Mother. Okay. I don't know why it's named Mother, but okay. This was also another one where I was just placing random shapes and trying... I know what I was doing here! I know what I was doing here! Around this time, there's a game called Sort the Court. And I took a screenshot of the background of the game. When you're playing through the game, the more people you add to your city, the city behind, in the background of the game, will slowly build up. So I'd taken a screenshot of it, and that was my inspiration for building the city. It ended up just being one big castle thing that I never finished, but I planned a bunch of secret passages around and everything. This was the entrance that never actually had an entrance. There's no stairs to get down, but it's here. I spawned in the middle of that jungle. That is my only nether portal for this. That's a mine shaft. Fake mine shaft, because I don't think I actually... No, I did use that one. Over here should have... This is just decorative rooms. Yeah, I didn't do anything in here. This is purely decoration right now. Yeah, it is in the meetings channel. Yeah. I was going to do sugarcane and kelp farms right here. Everything that was cobblestone was where a farm would go. I want to do this out of very basic materials, but make it feel nice. Hey, to-do list! The safe... OPRTN Tower. Okay. Kelp farm, more sugarcane farms, basement farm, stock on wood, mission Bob Jr. Okay, Bob was a enderman I had in here for a while. I have a bunch of villagers in little cubby holes. That is a villager breeder that's upstairs in here, because this is apparently what I decided to do, because I didn't know villager breeders existed, and I didn't have a plot for that. I have a bird for some... Nigel! I have a bird named Nigel. There's a bunch of fish up there for me trading cod, unless they're... No, they're all still there. Infinite water source. Apparently lava buckets. This is interesting sortage. certainly a way to organize, and I would not organize like this anymore. I have no idea what's happening here. Okay, me. Fair enough. And then this bridge just goes across the top of all of this. I've always been a fan of like these underground, almost dungeon-like bases. Oh, farms and iron golem. Wait, do I have a Sonic here as well? Are you Sonic? Sonic T-Horse! The prophecy has been fulfilled. You have a son now! You have a son. Okay. Okay. Oh, I know what's downstairs. Hold on. There's a reason I based in this specific spot and why this entire thing is here. In this mountain, I got a mob spawner that spawned up really high up. So there is a mob spawner down there. You're a mini sugarcane, you're auto, pumpkins and melons. A lot of chickens, apparently. Sheep. No pigs. Cows aplenty. Enchanter room, apparently. I don't know why it's organized like this, but it is. Is there anything back there? It looked like... Oh, that was going to be water columns, I think. That was going to be a water elevator up and down. That or I got rid of it at some point. I don't know why that exists. I'm going to be honest. Auto crop farm, semi-automatic. The water actually starts way up high, but it comes all the way down and across all of this from just a few sources, I think. I never fully got it done, though, but it's here. And apparently I prepared to get more stuff done. And I think I previously had stuff down here. Are you Bob? You're Rob. I think Bob died at some point by accident. I had the roof open and it started raining and he died. Okay, zombie spawner, and then... This is here for some reason. It's only me on here, so I don't know why I have that. Okay. I guess that exists. But I love this kind of base. This is the thing I've done for ages before I had any world edit, any Axiom, any Lightmatica. This is what I've done for ages. I think Season 3 I might come back to a base more like this. And just doing basic blocks. And then this goes back upstairs. I could probably tell actually what is what from these rooms. I believe these were all guest rooms of some sort. I'd be pretty positive of that assessment. I think these were offices and studies. This was going to be a giant library with a staircase coming down into it. Hallways, that's the entrance to the basement. Main hallway. Secret passage here between these staircases. This goes back down into dungeon territory. And I can't tell you much else of anything. Are you, in fact, a Riptide? Yes, yes, you are. Oh, no. Apparently I never finished this either. I know the idea for this was like a fish tank to keep my most important stuff in. And I'd put like all my diamonds and stuff in it, but I abandoned it halfway because I'm like, then I can't really access it. So I didn't like it anymore. I did spend a way more time on the mineshaft though, compared to everything else there. I made it all pretty and fancy, and I really adored it. There we go. This horde thing. This way is a horde way to get down there. I don't really like it. This is the one I spent time on, and trying to like slowly texture out this space. That connects to where I spawned. Apparently I can't connect to my own brain. I had something in here. This was a natural gravel deposit that I completely excavated out. It's an old method I've been doing for a while. Did I ever finish this so it reconnected back up? Yes. something I like doing for underground bases, if I want a more natural look, is I'll mine purely natural deposits of like the gravel, the granite, the diorite, the andesite. And because of how those are formed in the game, you can get a really natural, usually pretty rounded out space to work with to build in. And then that was slowly drained, and apparently I ruined some of my waterfalls around here. I have a bit of a fancy little mine shaft going on down here with a fake... oh, there is water down there. With fake elevators. I think I was going to bring those chains all the way down there. And then this connects up to the mine shaft we saw up there. Infinite water source. Little fake spots here. And back down to this. I don't know what I was doing here. I just liked the idea, I think. It's just a nice place to hang out. And I'm pretty sure I got down here. This is one of the worlds I think I didn't find the Deep Dark. This is one of the rare times, but this might have been around the time the Deep Dark started. Oh, this goes all the way to Bedrock. Okay, me. Okay. I do have diamonds, so I'm not sure where... Okay, these are my tunnels. I excavated this later. That's my tunnel. Okay, me. But that is literally everything on here. I never did much more than that. I don't even have a elytra on there, so I don't think I did anything much more. What else? Oh yeah, Homeo's SMP. Okay. That takes a minute to boot up, because not only do I have to pull up the Minecraft launcher and the instance. We never really modded that one. That was when I didn't want to heavy mod anything, and I was doing heavy vanilla. I should have, if I go to my installations, there we go, Homeo's SMP play. And I have to boot up Minehut. And hopefully it remembers my account. Minehut was a server host we used for a long time. We even used it for season 1 of Passion SMP, so we could literally just go into Passion SMP right now. The actual server, but we're just going to visit the world itself. Minehut, you can host free servers. They have gotten a little more stricter on the free server. That is, you can only play for, I think, 2 or 4 hours before it will shut down the server automatically. But if you want to play indefinitely, it's $5 a month. It does, the free and $5 a month version does have a limit of 10 players for that free server. 10 players on at a time. I have a lot of servers, apparently. Activate. But they are really... And you can mod them fairly easily, as well as world download. However, the reason we switched over is you cannot add voice chat to them. Voice chat does not work with how the Minehut servers are set up. So we are currently for Passion SMP Season 2, and we will continue to in the future unless problems arise. We're using logic servers. I either have a 4 or 8 RAM server for $8 a month. And this is a heavy modded server too. It holds all of us. It had like 7 of us on the other night, and it was working beautifully. They are absolutely fantastic. There you go, it's up and going. So why is Minecraft not? Minecraft launcher? Oh, I opened Passion Project, not Homeo's. That is also a problem. I automatically just went to open that. Installations, it didn't open. Save, play? I never opened Minecraft play. Unless I just didn't realize and immediately closed without thinking. Activate the actual correct server I want to visit. Yeah, I think I just closed it without thinking. Anyway. Gameplay. Do you recognize this? Game capture? Do you know what this is? Yes, you do. Good, good, good. And the music pause because it's being annoying. Yes. Let me listen to my Minecraft parodies, please and thank you. Minehut, I know you're annoying. Can you please just load up my server? Please. It's still loading it. I am staring at the Minehut website, and it's on a minute of starting the server when it estimates 30 seconds, and it usually gets it done in that time. There we go. Status starting? What do you mean? I just want to check. I just want to visit. Yeah, it is 4 hours. Daily time limit left because I stopped my plan for it. Or, I canceled my payment plan for it. Homeos SMP was an instance that occurred. And it is the reason... The experience of it is the reason I believe teens should not be content creators, and if they do choose to, despite that, that they should not be hosting. What do you mean failed? Are you kidding me? It still says starting. That's why. To be fair, it has been like a year since I opened it, but... and if teens do still choose to be content creators, it should be done with friends and not, like, friends or by yourself and not random people online. Now it's open. You suck. Also, with, hosting on... What do you mean? What do you mean? Thank you. Jeez. Okay. This experience of Homeos SMP is the reason I believe teens should 1. Not host a server, 2. Should avoid being content creators, 3. If they are a content creator, it should be done solo or with your own personal friends, not with online friends, because teens are just not mature enough to host a server. I say as a teen who hosted a server and handled it very poorly, and I was an asshole. Flat out. Spoilers apparent. Oh, somebody was having a wedding. Somebody was having a wedding, that's what's over there. What do I have in my chest? Do I have extra... Yes, of course I have extra fireworks. I always have extra. We're gonna grab several stacks. Oh, I have firework 3 rockets. Perfect. We're gonna grab a couple stacks of this. This one! Not this one, maybe. You can go back in there. This is a map of the server, and I believe I can pick out most everything. That is spawn. So, over... I can't remember directions on the server anymore. I'm up here, I think. Maybe. I don't remember. Oh yeah, I'm way over here. That's my maze. And then over down here, that's somebody's farm. And then way out here are other people's bases. A bunch of people based together, and I can't quite piece it out. Oh, the fog. You, the fog. Oh, fair. I think it's like on the very end over here. Oh no, they were so far out that I had to get a different set of maps for them. That's why I can't see it. There is somebody by the mansion, though. Yeah, right there was Tullip. And there were a couple other people around, too. I am lagging, first off. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Minehut. Thank you, Minehut. You're great. This is what... I don't even care about visiting anything else on the server. I just want to visit my base. I just want to see the cave. Thank you. Shut up. Skip. Thank you. That's where a bunch of other people were. All those chests are netherrack from mining out this place by hand. Honestly, I don't think I've changed my nether hub designs too much. It's mostly the same. This is just a little bit shorter than what we have right now. And easier materials to gather. There we go. I had a cave. Oh, Temmie! The Temmie Shrine! There used to be buildings here. I got rid of all of them at some point. I made a giant cave down here. Is my boys. Hodofagen! Tall! They're still here. Tall originally came from Homeos SMP Season 1. Hodofagen, I got this season of Homeos SMP. Season 2. I have a few random things about, apparently. And then I got both of them back on Passion SMP Season 1, and then I proceeded to also get several other quote-unquote kids. Because I did a hardcore series for a little bit, I don't have those worlds. I don't have that mod pack anymore. Where I got a bunch of Allays, so I got those guys back, and then I got a family pet in Passion SMP Season 1. I shared this base with Axralia, but I don't think her room exists anymore. And apparently this was my organization. And I connected myself to this ravine. And had to AFK corner. Okay. That went upstairs to an old iron farm that's no longer there. Creepers plus the 2 watchers. For some reason, because I think I just had extra cats. That goes to a mine shaft that eventually connects up to an old enchantment table, and I made a giant maze. With a Temmie Shrine in the middle. Because why not? And all my horses. I got a couple horses. Random tree farm, of course. Pumpkin melon auto farms. Oh no. Zapkobooks. You know what? I need to get Zapkobooks back. I want Zapkobooks. Zillalamp, Gilgafunk, and Tilifomp. Gilgafunk isn't... Both of these names are just random keyboard spam that I made somewhat intelligible. Gilgafunk is actually a reference to a channel called Lord Scathberry. It is not family friendly. And I hesitate to say if it's PG-13. But it's a Skyrim channel that did a Skyrim Randomness series. And they were exploring around the DLC for Raven Rock. And there's a quest with some goblins that you have to go save. Insert this hoglin, or hog. And he called him Gilgafuck. So now I have Gilgafunk. You know what? I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Screw you, Minehut. Another reason we don't use Minehut anymore is anytime you wanted to log on the server, you had to turn the server on. We no longer have to do that. The server's always running unless I turn it off myself for mod updates. Amalgamation time! Okay, I'm so excited. Amalgamation! I wish to start a hardcore. We're just gonna do... It's only 2:30, so I think we can allot a full hour for this. When I die, it happens. I'm gonna go headfirst into anything and everything we see. I am gonna go straight into whatever dangers lie before me. And then after that, we'll wrap up with Passion SMP Season 1. But I imagine this is going to take a little minute, and I'm very excited for it. I need to seriously sit down. I feel like Axralia would really like this mod pack, so I need to sit down with her and play that. This would be seriously fun if I'm pretty sure it's essential. So I could just host a world and we all play together. That would be a fun thing to do. And try and help you guys out and understand the mod pack. That'd be great. I feel like Penguin might even like it too. It might be up her alley, I'm not sure. Active, thank you, CurseForge. Slowly loading. Very slowly. I do not miss loading from CurseForge. I do not. I would join. Hell yeah. Woo! There goes my footstool. It is a tiny, like we're talking 4x9 inch, 5x8 inch. It is a tiny little stool that's meant more for like, I don't even know what it's meant for. This is a tiny like 3 planks of wood with markers colored all over it footstool. And it is not meant for me to rest my feet on at all, but that is the purpose I'm using it for. I think the thing can barely fit 1 foot, honestly. So if I dare lean it too much forward or lean too far back, it just slips. It slips and slides and makes a great thunk. Oh, right. I forgot about that part. Capture window. I forgot about him. If it loads. I forgot about that. Does this one have sound? Yes. Right. Last thing was 100. Chalky milk. Last thing was 100 days. Yep. That's what the world's gonna be. I love the mod pack. It's so good. It plays so well. Yep. 4 year. Hardcore. I'm not changing anything. We're just gonna enjoy it. We are gonna enjoy it for what it is and whatever I left it as. I remember we can't break trees. There is a no tree punch mod. So we're gonna be exploring around a little bit till I find something. And I forgot it takes 1,000,000 years to load one frickin' world. Yeah. I'm expecting this is probably going to be the most of the VOD is going to be just us enjoying this. Considering how long or how little, you know, I'll keep it to just the hour. Because I don't want to stream super long and I want to spend a good bit of time on Passion SMP and running around there. So I'll keep it to an hour max so I can get a bunch of other stuff done with my day. I want to sit down and write a bit. I need to work on a project that will be posted February 1st. And then get this VOD uploaded as well. It's only a 50%. We should set up a time to get a handful of us to play this. Absolutely. Just, I feel like this would really be up Penguin X Rayleigh's alley too. I don't know if that'd be something Skip would want to join in on. Maybe Penguin and Love would be interested. I'm not sure of that. Oh, right! I forgot! Player. We don't care. I kind of want to go village, but I'm more I just want to go somewhere. I don't care. Right! I forgot about the origins! Where's my Phantom? Thank you. Phantom Archer. Or Phantom Warrior. Archer? Warrior. Oh, I forgot about everything I had in this. Immediately. Oh, we gotta, apparently that's day 1. Where is my skills? Where's my skills? C, is that it? V. V. Okay, I have it to V. And I think it's left alt. Okay. There's the llamas. They look like llamas. What? There's structures back there. There's a structure back there. Wait, hold on. I'm a phantom. I'm a phantom. Let's just go for it. And what can I see on the mini-map? Oh, that was almost... That was almost bad. Almost. Oh, that's way down there. Oh, there is something that could actually be more useful. Okay. We go for the house. There we go. Whip. You might have tools for me. You probably won't, though. Okay, we're safe in here. I can get some cobblestone to get us going. String. Backpacks! We need backpacks. I see a guy over there. Well, we have a pickaxe. But no wood. Oh, and I don't have food. I mean... I might do a second run of this, because I really should have just trusted myself and gone with... gone with a village, but I didn't do that. I did not. I still have 8 minutes till daytime. I can't go through blocks. I can't craft a furnace to do anything with. I can't rummage around for chests because I can't go phantom mode because I don't have food. I can't even sprint because I don't have food. I'm gonna mine back to the house that we were just in. I forget. I forget what I have in this stream playlist anymore. Come on, I just want to get back to this house. Give us a few more blocks. Because I think I might have a craft slabs mod, so I could break a couple slabs and then craft those slabs back into planks to get me started. So I can make an axe. Hydrate. Yes, I will hydrate. I forgot Skip was on PSMP. Yeah. He had to take some time. He messaged me about it. That's why he's been gone. He took some time and he's back now. He's starting to get back into it. I think... Nope. At least it didn't punish me too much for that. Yes, there we go. Okay. And I have so much terracotta that I do not need from that. Wait, I can break these. I can break these. At the very least, I have this. Okay. So that's not enough for a crafting table or to do anything with. Can I break? I am allowed to break. Yeah. I'm not trying to break the logs, I promise. I do have to be careful about breaking slabs, too. Can I do this? Yes, okay. Circumvention! We'll figure out eventually. So I need to break 4 more of these. In order to also get enough wood for sticks. And then I can make an axe, and we can actually get started! And then we can figure out this food situation. Okay, so sticks. And boop. And then now I have an axe to do something with. And I have a furnace to start smelting those. Let me fill in that with these. That's a little bit more to get us going. Why am I short? Oh, was the character... My Minecraft Comes Alive character was short, so it made me short. Yeah, okay. I should have probably made a shield, but we'll figure it out. So at least I have the bare necessities to somewhat get going. It is 6. Need to get over to where I came in from. That's safe? Yes, that's safe. And head back. I think we've gotten enough done that if I die, I'm just gonna listen to it and I'll trust it. And we won't go again. And we'll just move on to Passion SMP. Thinking I want to move over and around this way. Kind of just pop around the edges of this to see what I can get out of it. Is there anything going around? Little bit, but I don't think there's gonna be any loot or food here. We're getting closer to night, so I should be fine in just a few minutes here. I cannot take on any fights, though. Absolutely not. You can eat spider eyes, though, right? There's spider eyes in the other place. In a chest. They're poisonous, but you can eat them, so that at least let me refill some amount of health. Yeah. It's not good food, but it's food. Yeah. So will that be good for me long term, though, or did I just make a horrid mistake? Probably the worst decision I could have made. Honestly. What can I do with what I have? That's a question. If I, 1, go downstairs. 2, I get more cobblestone. If it lets me. Cobblestone? Cobblestone! No. Nope. Back here at cobblestone. There's cobblestone back here. Right? Right. So we get enough cobblestone that I can come over here. I do have to smelt it first in order to make a hammer, but we can do that so I can get even more cobblestone. Just anything that could be helpful to me in the meantime until it's day again. Or till it's night. Plus, if I'm using the hammer, I might have a chance of getting some iron. And then I can make a helmet. No, a helmet won't keep me safe during the day. I'm thinking of a different mod. I think that... I don't even think that's mod. I don't know why I'm thinking that. But for some reason I am. That should be... What is it? Oh, wait, is... What? Hammer. So, oh, I forgot how it's crafted. Okay, stone hammer. That's not as helpful as I would have liked. That just ain't. I mean, hey, more stone, but also no. I did not acquiesce for you. Please. Oh, it is sunset, though. It is sunset. There is iron right there, but it's sunset, so we're gonna go out and get food. I do have to be worried about people, but food. Because we are in desperate need of it. I should have really made, like, a... I should have seriously made a shield. Gonna wait till the map I know it's technically nighttime, you can sleep right now. I'm gonna wait until the map tells me it is now nighttime. Because if I dare step out, I'm just gonna lose the hardcore immediately. That's how this is gonna go. And I don't want that to happen, so... we're gonna sit and wait, despite it probably being fine. There's something right there, I don't know if I can eat that. I hope I can. Please, game. This should be fine. Night. Okay. We're fine now. Immediately spawned right there, the moment it could. Ginger! You can't eat ginger! There's stuff over there. And I'm tiny. Hops! I can't eat hops either! All these... That's how the cookie crumbles. Okay. Did I have any hope of a shot? There's more ginger there. Would there have been anything nearby? There's a cow that spawned right there. That would have helped. That would have helped right there. Also, I saw that. There's a spawner down here. I think it's a husk spawner. What are you? Oh, yeah, it's just another cow. Oh, and if I got over to the jungle, I could have found food to eat there. Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah, it's like 20 seconds of fame. That's fine. I am far more excited about visiting the Season 1 of Passion SMP. Let's go into chatting about it again. Not Season 2, Season 1 mod pack. I have the world download saved, so it's not going to be on the actual server. Incompatible mods. I haven't... Oh, wait, hold on. I accidentally threw in the wrong mods into this one at some point, thinking it was the Season 2 mod pack when it wasn't. Okay, let me fix that. That's a problem. Okay, maybe that's fine. We will see. I did do that. I did do that. I'm out of water. That's fun. Minecraft? Hello? Minecraft? Oh, it's loading. It's just taking a sweet time. It is just taking its time. Okay. I actually just speed ran through all of those. Wow. Because I was expecting this to be like a 4 or 5 hour stream and it just wasn't. Invalid message with quotes. Oh. Brave. Oh wait, did it open anyway? Yes it did. Okay. Java. But this version of Java. Thank you. We are gonna visit Recworld. Because this is the exact same as what we saw before, except there's a few things different. Not a lot. I have this apparently. And then, oh, there's a bunch of Passion SMP builds on here now. Because we're over by these guys. This was copy-pasted into the world from Colony Craft. I took a schematic and then pasted the schematic into here. And oh, it's beautiful. I love this build so much. Misty would hate it, but I love it. Misty hates birch. But I feel like used appropriately with plenty of sandstone and oxidized copper, it can work. And then, yeah, you can see over here, that build too. This is first looks and prototypes at the train station that was in Passion SMP that ended up being deconstructed far more from this into just tiny builds instead. These are survival bases and weathered versions of structures I've made. Oh, wait, hold on, actually. That exists on my base, in my base on Passion SMP, and then in order to get there, I made a survival base and just deconstructed it into what I put on the server, and both of these exist on my Ko-fi. Same thing over here. That's on the actual server. This is a schematic I have on Ko-fi. I don't think there was anything else here, though. I had a dragon loose at some point, so there's a dragon somewhere. But that is just everything here. I might have turned it to peace souls of the dragon. No, the peace... I could have done the kill at all in order to get rid of it. And then the world download of Passion SMP. I should probably have... Yeah, I have everything up. Oh, we added Edsworth towards the end because I was doing a bunch of achievement hunting. So let's grab my inventory. And then the barrages, my rockets. Stab, stab, shoot, shoot, water bucket. Worth it. Whack, whack. Subscribe. Pikachu, Pikachu. We're just gonna... I don't care. Actually, why am I trying to do this? Apparently my character's bugging out. Because I could just set myself in creative and then we can zoom around. I will keep rockets on me, though. Rockets and armor I'll keep on me. Slash game mode creative. Slash time set day. Game rule do. Daylight cycle false. Game rule do weather cycle false. Okay. So there's a lot to be done and said about this. I've talked over quite a lot. My base is heavily terraformed. It did not look anything like this when I started. It was a giant mountain. This didn't exist here. Do I still have free cam? Free cam. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, we're gonna spectator. This is a made mountain. Do I not have Fulbright? There's Fulbright. I don't care. Fulbright. Hopefully it just still works despite that. Yes. This was man-made mountains, and over here was heavily terraformed. Although I didn't build over, this is complete solid terraforming is what I'm trying to get at. But if you come over to certain spots and dig down far enough, you'll eventually find the original dirt. Because I just filled everything with stone. Oh, maybe this book. Wait, where was this? Oh no, this was original mountain. I had to dig this area down. Over here, I know for a fact I built up. So somewhere down here. Yeah, here we are. I'm pretty sure it's this area that has original. Or is it even just right here? This is original. There we go. You can see little bits of where I used to have some taiga trees hiding out. A bunch of just random ruined structures about. And this place is so different than when it started. I'm still very happy with this, though. I love this quite a lot. It's nice to go back and look on it. This one was not filled completely. Hold on, let's do a game rule. Spectators generate chunks, true. We can go around the spectator. Yeah, this, I just did a flat plane of stone and then plane of grass on top. Game mode, creative. If I go... It is this direction, roughly out here. not quite far enough. This way. If I'm seeing the spruce, I'm not quite there. There we go. Lilac space. Ah, I love lilac space. There we go. Yes, the flowers. Okay, what are the hoglins named? I know I named them something. What were they? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. There's a third one that got lost at some point, but there's a miny mo somewhere. It says eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Oh, and of course the ship with glass parkour, because we typically use... It looks far better. Yeah, there we go. Borderless glass. We used borderless glass on the server, so the parkour looks a little bit more like that. You can barely see it. And it was far more mean than intended. This thing was filled with drowned with pillager heads on them. And they all had like fake pillager heads because I put a bunch of vindicator heads on them, and then one of them had the actual pillager head that Lilac had to collect. And I did similar things with other people's bases. And I'm pretty sure if we come across this ocean, heading out roughly to right here. Yes! Out here is Oops and Love's base, and I almost based here day one. I was on that mountain very day one of this SMP. And then ended up moving across the server to what is nicknamed the Eye of the Storm, and then got fed up with my base over there, and moved across the server to the base I had at the end of the season. Oh, I didn't even see the end progress of this. That's awesome. Oh yeah, and all the... Oops did find all the pillager heads, and then that's Love's base, and the farms they were making. And then there's the giant ice area out here, so we're just gonna hopefully get around it. I have gone too far, I believe. Yeah, that is center. So I'm just gonna TP at self 0, 100. There we go. Ah, Spawn Town, I spent way too much time working on you. I don't think this was needed at all, but it looks great, so it's fine. It's fine. And I'm still pretty happy with the community center. I'm still very proud of that. Woot woot, hi X! We're looking through old stuff. I want to do something like this again. I really loved making the shark bones here. I had so much fun building that. It's such a small detail, but I love it. I had so much fun with designing a bunch of this, and I want to do more pipes and stuff like this in my current base. And I think about here's when I started finding a style with everything I was doing, and my general build style that I go for nowadays. Apparently, I lean heavy towards doing this beige, oak, and jungle for some reason. It's just a very nice color that works well with a lot of different things. Oh, we can't visit Season 1 without going to the Eye of the Storm. We gotta come all the way out here, we're gonna follow the minecart. We're gonna follow the old minecart trail. Oh wait, we can follow the new minecart trail. I made this for a reason, we're gonna follow it. I spent way too long on this thing, and it wasn't necessary at all. I probably spent longer on this than I have on the horse path so far. That's a skeleton spawner, we don't care about it. It exists, we don't care. We do not care. If we keep coming out to your left, you'll see a bunch of icebergs. In the middle of the icebergs is a very crapperly made iceberg that you can very easily spot because it is the creeper farm. And if we keep carrying on, I think we completely pass it, actually. I don't think I ever connected that trail to the Eye of the Storm. This is the only taiga biome in miles and miles of snowy plains and snowy biomes. There's a rough iron farm here and my old base that now has a maze around it. I was trying to go with mushroom. This is specifically pink oyster mushroom. It does not look like that. It just looks like a mess. And I was making my entire base completely out of dirt, and then I let another player move in after I left. So there's slight changes to interior. There's water there for some reason. There's slight changes here and there, but it's mostly the same as what it was when I left it. And I think... I love seeing spawn there. Oh, I want to go visit Skip Space. Hold on. The fastest way to do this is just going to be going through the Nether. I was going to visit my boys. Hold on. Hold on, we going to go visit the boys. Where's my eldest? Tall. 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 There's Tall. And then I needed a sniffer first for torch flowers for Tall's room. So we got Carl, which was originally named Snort. I renamed him to Carl because I realized the other llama's name, when you're calling Carl, the other llama's name is Paul. So Tall and Carl. And then I needed a second sniffer in order to get the achievement for breeding every single thing you can in the game. So I needed to breed 2 sniffers. So I got Cusco. And then there's eggs sitting in an item frame.
That kills people.
Exactly. And then in here is Huddlefoggin. Pillagers can open doors, so he has trapdoors for his room. Huddlefoggin! Hi, baby. I love you. He got airdropped to me this season. I was working on building stuff and trying to get the house ready so I can move Tall in. And I'm like, oh, I gotta get Huddlefoggin at some point. And a pillager raid showed up. And all of the raid spawned on top of what was left of Tall's original room that I had made. And then one pillager was down below. And it's like he got airdropped to me. And that pillager that was down below is now Huddlefoggin. That upstairs is just my room. Down here, I did a hardcore series for a little bit that kind of fell off. Where I got 4 allays. The first ones I named Dream and Nightmare. The second pair I got, I named Sun and Moon. So this should be Moon, my favorite boy. He's my favorite room I made. And then Nightmare's room is over here. Hi, Nightmare. And then I eventually finally added this little portion to his room. And he has a little bed down there. Dream... No, this one is Dream, yes. Dream's right here. He's just adorable, and you got a addition up there, and that connects up to the other tower that has my iron farm. And then this is Sun's room, which got a slight expansion. Where? Up there is Sun. He's a brat. He was a brat in the hardcore, he's a brat on the server. For that little house there. Alright, Skip Space. We were gonna go visit Skip. We gotta go say hi. Oh yeah, Misty requested I don't do Acacia or Copper for this season's Nether Hub. So that's why we had the Quartz and Tuff instead. I'll probably do simpler materials next season, so it's just gonna be like stone, brick, and spruce. Or deep slate or something like that. This corner should be Skip's. I was getting aghast for that. We're gonna ignore that. I was trying to do a thing there. There you go, Skip Space! And the giant hole over here, because holes are necessary for servers, apparently. I think that is about it, though. Those are the major things. Skip's all the way out there. Because it was literally just us for this season. And Pumpkin was shacked up in my attic. That is just it. It was just the few of us. We don't have any other bases here to explore. I built various mini games here is the only other thing I could think of to mention. I kind of want to revisit this. This was fun and really easy to make. I called this Starve with a Z because the idea was you eat a piece of rotten flesh before you go in, so you're heavy on hunger already, and you have to go around killing the other people. And it's just a door maze where you just have to be the last one standing. There is no way for you to get out, though. But it is fun while you're playing it, because it's just chaos. Hey, I'm doing that in Passion SMP Season 2. Nice! This entire area over here was a hide and seek that we used. This section had 2 minigames, though. We have golf, because I discovered... you could technically do this with armadillos now, but what I did is when you're in survival, you gotta take a knockback sword. Game mode. Survival. You can essentially play golf. And it was slightly annoying, but it existed. We did it. So that's a thing that's here. And I had a bunch of different trials. Some of this could have definitely been made easier because it just got annoying towards the end and it wasn't super fun. I definitely have to spend more time on this or find a new mechanic that could be more fun. And then the thing we all care about is the floor's lava, which got broken at the end of the server. But I want to go in, learn some more redstone, and fix this. I would love to bring this back to season... I would love to bring this into Season 2. That would be amazing if we could do that. But I think that is it as far as everything goes. There's not really any builds scattered across the server. Most of them are in concentrated areas. Namely of which Spawn, I suppose Love and Oop Space have a lot of stuff. Lilac Space definitely. Oh, we missed a part of Lilac Space. We didn't see the horse course. The horses! This was really fun when we did it too. It was great. And then my base has a bunch of stuff in farms. So that's great. I love that. It's nice to go back and visit stuff. Ugh. And a magical 2 hours, which is what I usually stream. So we're gonna wrap this up. I make big hole. Yes, you do. We're gonna wrap this up. Tomorrow I will be playing more of Dungeons of Bedrock. We finished the first 50 dungeons. It's just a quick puzzle game, but it does take a minute to do the puzzles sometimes. We have the other 50 to do, so we'll be doing that tomorrow, starting at the same time, 1 p.m. I still can't believe it's been 4 years. A lot has happened during that time. I definitely want to go in and I'm gonna probably click through this VOD and see, okay, I want to go do that, I want to go do that, actually make some notes, and be like, yes, we need to plan a time to play Amalgamation together, because that would be super fun. I'm already planning on trying to do some maps in Bedrock Worlds of Lilac, so I'll probably DM her about that. We'll see if that gets streamed. I'll probably just record it. I did have on my stream schedule for this week. Let me pull it up. I did have on the stream schedule for this week, Thursday, to be decided. I've decided not to because I completely forgot somehow. That is my brother's birthday, so there'll be no stream that day. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to be doing this week as far as Passion SMP goes. So we are probably more than likely going to stream Saturday still. And then I'll figure out what we'll do next week. That went way faster than I thought it'd be. But I have poor time perception, so that's whatever. Thank you all for joining me. I'm going to quickly check if we can raid out. Twitch is usually mean to me, so I'm going to double check. Because sometimes when I look, it says nobody I know is streaming. And then I go onto Twitch afterwards and I see people are streaming. They are not. Okay. So that'll be it. This VOD will be going up on the YouTubes on the second channel. I don't think I'll be making a video out of it. I might get a clip from the laughable death in Amalgamation, but that'll be it. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.